Hello, this is Christy Whitman. Welcome to the Quantum Success Show, where you can get your information and inspiration to create your desires. And if you are tired of not getting what you want and not living the life of your dreams, then your chance to transform your life forever is right now. Because I am thrilled to introduce you to Natalie Ledwell. I've had her on the show before. She is known by many as the Mind Movie's Queen of Visualization. Natalie is the best-selling author of Never in Your Wildest Dreams, and she's a speaker. She is the inspiration show host and founder of Mind Movies. And Natalie and her team have reached over 1.3 million people around the globe, empowering them to use power visualizations, which is a tool that their business is based on, which is Mind Movies, or a digital vision board, to create the reality they choose through the power of their own minds. Just a few short years ago, Natalie was able to crawl out, I know that feeling, out from under $120,000 in credit card debt to literally build a multi-million-dollar company. So Natalie, you are the undisputed expert on law of attraction. You are my friend, and I'm so happy to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you, Christy. It's been great to see you now outside of the Ice Bucket Challenge. Christy actually challenged me to that the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, which is a great cause. So
it was fun seeing you do it, and so thank you for taking my challenge.
Thanks.
I knew you'd be a good sport about it.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people refer to you as the Mind Movies Queen of Visualization. So I'd love to know, some people, we talk about visualization. I would love to find out how you describe visualization and then why it's so important to do it and pay attention to it.
Yeah. Well, everything that we create in our life actually starts as a thought first. Such as a thought or a concept in our mind or an intention of what we want to be able to create in our lives. Now, when I saw the movie The Secret back in 2006, it kind of, for the first time, described the law of attraction to me in a way that I understood it for the first time. I'd read, Think and Grow Rich and how to influence, influence friends and people and stuff like that. But it wasn't until I saw The Secret that I went, oh, okay. So, my biggest takeaway I had from that is that I didn't need to know the whole plan and I didn't need to know how things were going to happen. But if I could visualize and see this end result in my mind and sit in the emotions of already having achieved it and then take action towards that goal, then things would fall into place for me to help me reach that end result, and things that I could never have planned for in a million years. So even if I did have a plan, more likely than not, I would never follow that plan, or that plan wouldn't be the way that it would actually come to fruition for me. So when I think about visualization, it's like a very important component of eliciting the law of attraction to be able to create the life that you want. So first you need to see it in your mind. And the more repetitively that we see this new future, the more we program our subconscious mind to think, well, that is our new reality. And especially when we're sitting in the emotion of it, because emotion is energy, it's vibration, and it's the language that the universe understands. So what happens is that we have this new picture playing in our mind, because we all have a movie playing in our mind. Most of the time it's of all the failures that we had or past history or why everything can't go right for us. But if we're very purposeful and start to play the movie that we want and the reality that we want, and we feel the emotions of already achieving that, then what happens is that changes our thoughts. So rather than these negative thoughts that keep telling us all the reasons why we can't, create this life that we want, we create these new thoughts in alignment with this picture that our subconscious mind keeps seeing. They create these new neural pathways. So we have these new positive thoughts coming through to our conscious mind. That in turn automatically changes our actions. And when our thoughts and actions are in alignment with this new reality that we're seeing in our mind, we start to resonate or vibrate at a certain frequency out into the universe. And then whatever is a vibrational match the frequency that we are sending out, then gets attracted back to us. And that's the basis of the law of attraction.
Very well described. I love it. I love that everybody has their own language and ways of describing it, and and it's always different. And so I so appreciate different perspectives, and I really appreciate your perspective on that and the way you just described that. And I'm sure it's going to help a lot of people that need to hear it the certain way that you said it, and they haven't quite heard it that way. So thank you for that. And it's interesting. I'd love for you to share your background, because you weren't always this law of attraction expert. Like, really, how did you become an expert in this area?
Well, I've always been a student of personal development. When I was 21, one of my bosses handed me a set of cassettes by Brian Tracy. And I'm in Sydney in Australia, and he hands me these cassettes, and I remember putting them in the car and hear this American voice coming out. I'm like, what is this? But those cassettes were the beginning of this, amazing education for me. And so I was always, and I talk about how in my 20s, I used to listen to people like Brian Tracy and Anthony Robbins and Jim Rohn and Zig Ziglar and all the, the big guys from back in those days. And everything that they always taught with it was very conscious. Set a goal, set a plan, write out, your actions each day. And it was very conscious work. And the thing is, if I couldn't see it in my mind, or if I couldn't see the way that it was going to how the plan was going to come out for me, I would never set myself audacious goals. I would always set myself safe goals, things that I knew that I could achieve, and I would never, step outside of that. And then when I come across the movie The Secret, and I realized that by using the law of attraction, what you're doing is you're enlisting the help of an entity and an energy outside of you, like something that's bigger than you. There's so much that we can humanly, be able to create in our lives by forcing things and being very conscious about our work. But when you can sit in the visualization of it and the feeling of it, and then let go and go, right, well, this is, this may not happen the way that I want, and that's okay. And this may not happen at all, and that's okay, because whatever does happen for me is going to be the right thing for me, for where I am and how I want to get to this end result. And so in 2006, I just started sitting in that and started using that method. And the life I get to live now, that I've been created through visualizations and applying law of attraction. I mean, I could never have dreamed this up in a million years.
Totally.
Like I had a pretty clear idea, and I had some pretty lofty, ideas of the life I wanted to live. But, if someone had said to me, we'll get to live in an endless summer, like I haven't seen winter for 8 years. I live between California and Sydney, that you get to hang out and call people like Jack Canfield and Bob Proctor and John Assaraf your friends. Mm-hmm. You get to hang out with those people that were my idols back then, my mentors. And that you get to reach millions of people around the world and help to change their life just through you living and applying, the principles of law of attraction and visualization. I would have laughed at them. I'm like, as if I'm not going to ever be able to do that. But that's the life I've been able to create. So now I sort of get into stepping into, bigger, more audacious visions for myself, because I know without a shadow of a doubt that either they will happen the way that I see, or they'll happen even better than I can even possibly imagine.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's so true. So what are the key elements of visualization?
Okay, so first of all, I think a lot of people feel like if they can't see some vivid Technicolor movie in their mind, then they can't visualize, and that's not necessarily the case. You don't have to have a full, clear picture happening in your mind. What's more important than what you see is what you feel. Because, as we were saying before, visualization, emotions are the language of the universe. And that's the energy that we're sitting to. Because I know that, with my movie, like we're combining affirmations, photos, and music together. And the music is the secret sauce, because it's what actually elicits the emotion for you. Mm-hmm. And I made my original My Movie back in 2006. And the song that I used was a song called Clocks by Coldplay. It is my favorite song on the planet. And even now, like it's 2014, like how many, that's 7 years later, 8 years later. When that song comes on the radio, I am instantly transported into emotions of accomplishment and, that I can create anything I want, and, and gratitude and love. And then even when that song is playing, I get to see all these things in my mind that I am, that I've been able to create for myself, but my eyes are open.
Sure.
It's not like I have to sit in the lotus position, have my eyes closed and get all, zen. You can be driving along in the car and have a song or something that reminds you and puts you into that space of, this is what I'm creating. I'm creating this amount of, amazing abundance in my life. You don't have to have your eyes closed for that. And it's more the feeling rather than the clear picture. And the more that you do it, it's like any kind of a muscle, the easier it becomes for you. So, yeah. So I think that the main rules are make sure that you sit in the feeling. And a lot of people go, well, what is the emotion? Like what emotion should I be feeling? Well, the emotion that you should be feeling is what you will be feeling once this becomes a reality. So if you're creating wealth in your life and your visualization is about, you and your partner laying on a beach in Tahiti sipping pina coladas, well, how are you going to feel when you're holding their hand and looking into their eyes with such gratitude and love? That's the emotion that you want to be sitting in.
Absolutely. In any situation, you always want to find the emotion. You always want to find the bottom line feeling, because that's where like you said, the secret sauce, that's where the vibration, that's when you're in concert with the universe at that point. And I love what you said too about music, because it's like we can hear different songs on the radio and they can put us just right back instantaneously to where we were, what that reminded us of. And so hopefully the songs that we're hearing are the songs that we stay attuned to, are the songs that uplift us and make us, recall a really good, happy memory.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and even you don't specifically have to have a mind movie, but if you have a list of affirmations that you've written out about that completely describes this new reality that you want to create, and that you have a song playing at the same time, there's no hard and fast rule as to what that piece of music has to be, except that it has to be something that makes your heart sing. I've been doing some work with Dr. Joe Dispenza, which is why I have my explanation of law of attraction has a bit of a science edge to it. He's a neuroscientist that we've been working with. And at one of his advanced workshops earlier this year, we had all 300 of his participants create their own personal mind movies. And it was really interesting to see the different types of music that people were putting with their mind movie, because I'm like, you can do whatever you want. It just has to be something that speaks to you. And there were people that had operatic songs. There were people that had classical songs. The people had, Happy obviously was a very, popular song as well. But it's whatever absolutely speaks to you. And if you can play that music, it's like a trigger or an anchor for you that really helps you to step into that emotion and makes it easier for you to step in that emotion when you're having that visualization and seeing that reality in your mind.
Well, Natalie, you were talking about that you're working with Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Yes.
So is there, what scientific research or results can you share with us? Because I know you've been really excited in the last conversations that we've had about, all the science that's really supporting stuff that we've all been talking about for so many years, right? And it's like, I would love for you to share that, because it's really amazing. Like when we were in Palm Springs together, you were showing me some of this stuff, and I'm like, I know it, I believe it, I experience it, I live it, but to see it like that, it was like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's like scientific proof. Yeah. See, with Dr. Joe, one of his theories or his premises is that when you can get into a meditative state and you get your brain waves into either theta or gamma in meditation, when you can do that, that's when you can connect to the quantum field or to the higher consciousness or to God or whatever you want to call that. Now, once you have that connection, whatever you can visualize and conceptualize while you have that connection, while you're in theta or gamma, that has to materialize in this reality. And so because he's a scientist, he's like, well, I want to prove this scientifically. So at his workshops, we have been brain mapping people through normal thought patterns, through meditation, and through visualization to see what the different parts of the brain that are activated and how we can get into different, brainwave states. And what was really interesting, there was one woman in particular so everyone gets tested before the event, before the workshop, then 4.5 days later, after we've basically been meditating our butts off, then we get, measured again. And we had this woman, this is at the beginning of the workshop. And so she did 5 minutes of regular thought. And then we measured her doing 5 minutes of meditation. And we could see the EEG, like the computer just going nuts. We're like, what's going on here? Like, what's going on? We could see her going into theta and gamma. We're like, wow, this is incredible. So when she finished and she came out, we said, well, what happened in your meditation? She goes, oh, I was just playing my mind movie. So remember, the purpose of a mind movie is to help you visualize this thing. So she wasn't visualizing something new. She was just playing her mind movie. So we can see about 2 minutes in, we can see the visual part of her brain get stimulated. So we can see how she's starting to play that. But then about 3 minutes in, when the needles are all going crazy, we can see her going into theta and gamma. So it's like she's having this full connection and this download from the epiphany center in her brain. And so she's getting this hit from the universe. It's coming in. Then you can see kind of peter out a little bit because her conscious mind's going, whoa, what was that? And then she relaxes back into it, and then you see it going. So it was kind of coming in waves. And that was just from replaying the movie she'd already created. So that was just crazy. But I'm actually speaking at the Quantum University annual conference in October in Honolulu this year. And Dr. Jeffrey Fannin, who's doing all the mind maps, and Dr. Joe Dispenza will also be there. So between the three of us, we're sharing all the results that we've been getting, that we've been actually accumulating all this year. So, very exciting stuff.
That's amazing. It's great work that you're doing, Natalie. It's truly, truly amazing, and that you're able to work with these scientists to do this kind of stuff and bring it to a more, like, for someone that needs scientific proof, so that more people can actually get in on believing it, so that they can then actually change the results that they would get if they didn't believe it. The doubts, it's like going to subside a lot of doubts, I think, going to dismiss a lot of doubts. So
I think what it does is it takes like law of attraction visualization out of the, new age woo-woo basket.
Yeah.
And puts it into the, okay, well, this is how it works. I mean, the things that they can measure these days, like we can measure brain plasticity, which is basically how easy it is for us to take on new thought processes. We can measure how quickly it takes us to get into a meditative state. We can measure different brainwave states. We can measure all these different things that we couldn't do 5 or 10 years ago. So now it's like, yes, we've always known it's worked, but now we can prove and show you exactly how it does.
Absolutely. That's amazing. So can you, this always like gets me, right? So can you explain why some people, they seem to like do everything right? I'm doing everything right. I'm doing what the experts are telling me, right? And how they seem to do everything right and visualize effectively, but still do not get the results that they want. Do you know the reason behind that?
Yeah, see, most of the time, consciously as adults, we can set ourselves, different goals. We can visualize. We can take action. We can do it seems to be right. But then there is some kind of subconscious programming that we're not even aware we have that seems to be holding people back. For example, I know in my personal situation, when I was younger, like I'm from a family of 8 kids, so we're a very big family. And we weren't poor by any means, but we definitely, there was always stress around money. And so my programming from when I was growing up is that money is stressful, and money is, getting money is like, it's hard. It's a hard thing. It's not a very easy thing to do. And so that's what my programming was. So even as an adult, I'm having these lofty goals and visualizing these amazing futures for myself. But for some reason, money just went through my hands like sand. And I'm like, why is this? Like, I know what I want consciously. And it wasn't until I accidentally, came across a friend of mine who was an NLP practitioner. We were creating a program with her, and we were doing a video on eliminating limiting beliefs. And she goes, Natalie, I need to have you on camera with me to go through this process. And I'm like, I don't have limiting beliefs. I'm this positive person. I see the glass half full. And she's like, okay, well, let me ask you a question. She goes, do you have enough money in your life? And of course, Glenn and I both laughed. I'm like, no, we were, struggling financially. And she goes, well, why don't we just start there and see what comes up for you? So she asked me a series of questions that got me into my subconscious mind. And then she asked me the question, well, when did you first form your limiting belief around money? And without hesitation, I said, when I was 5. And what came up for me was an incident when I was at school getting teased by these richer kids. And I'm like, oh, well, if you've got, money, you must be not a nice person. And then what happened after that is I remember I had tears coming down my eyes thinking, so I've had this belief since I was 5 and it's been influencing my life for my whole adult life. And then like dominoes, I can remember all these different decisions and things I'd made because this was my deep-seated belief that I wasn't even aware of. And so then moving forward from there, I actually was very conscious about the type of thoughts I did want to think. I would write them out as affirmations. I would sit in a visualization, seeing me, operating and actually living from this new thought paradigm, and completely shifted, the way that I thought about money. Now, that happened in February 2008. And of course, September 2008 is when we had our first big initial launch of my movies. And since then, I've had the most, spiritually and financially successful years of my life. because I was able to eliminate that.
Absolutely. It's crazy that it's like one vow, one decision, when, it's like it can make such a different, it literally is a different trajectory of your whole entire life. It's so wild how that happens. So in your perspective, like when you talk about subconscious, like what is subconscious programming for you?
So our subconscious makes up 80% of our, well, actually it can be even more than that. Some people say 95% of our daily activities are subconscious activities. Even like something like driving a car. How many times have you been driving a car, you stop at a set of traffic lights and you go, wow, I don't even remember driving for the last 10 minutes because you're off in a trance or you're, visualizing this amazing new future and you're daydreaming. And that's because, through repetition, we have these programs that are, put into our subconscious mind. Like, for example, when we first learn to drive a car, it's a very conscious activity. Like we have to think about, the mirrors and the other cars and the indicators and everything. But then through repetition, it just becomes unconscious. Yes. In our subconscious mind, it can process 40 million bits of data per second. Like it is like this huge computer that's noticing everything that's going on around us. But our conscious mind can only process 40 bits of data per second. And so, we have this huge computer in the back of our mind that's absorbing everything around us. And it stores everything in there. That's why sometimes when we have this brilliant idea, you go, wow, where did that come from? Sometimes it comes from the ether or the universe, but sometimes it comes from something that was stored inside our subconscious mind that through repetition just becomes part of our behavior and part of our personality and part of who we are. That's why something like, a thought, a perception I had as a 5-year-old, was like, money's bad. That just gets programmed in there through repetition, and so every time something comes up about money, from our subconscious mind through a neural pathway in our brain comes this regular thought. And because we've been thinking these thoughts for 40, 50, 60 years, they're so normal to us, we don't even realize that we're thinking them. Absolutely. And that's why for us to be able to change them and create these new neural pathways, we need to start seeing and playing this, more positive movie in our mind and these visualizations. And then what happens to those old neural pathways is they start to atrophy because they're not getting used as much. They don't go away altogether, but they do start to atrophy. And so what happens is these new positive thoughts got a much stronger neural pathway. So it's easier for us to completely reprogram our mind for success.
That's awesome. Awesome. So same thing happens obviously with the limiting beliefs as well, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, limiting beliefs, yes, so they're a belief, but what's attached to those beliefs are these negative thoughts that we think on a repetitive basis.
And where do those come from?
They come from the subconscious mind. So we have this paradigm, this belief. So every time something comes up about money or about our self-image or anything like that, because we have this paradigm with this belief that we, let's say, for example, that when we were a child, we were told that we were very smart but not very pretty. So we have this issue about our self-image. So every time something comes up, because we have this deep-seated belief that we didn't even realize has been programmed into our subconscious mind, every time we, go on dates or, get dressed or the way that we present ourselves in the world, we have this, these thoughts that come up for us are like, no, I'm not very pretty. I've got to rely on my smarts. I've got to compete in a man's world because I'm not very pretty and I have to rely on my intelligence. These all stem from this belief that we, has been stored in their subconscious mind that we're not very pretty. Right. Which most of the time is not the case.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, the role of a parent is so important because it's like we give these like roles. Here is your role, child. You are this. You are what I project onto you. You are the role that we need in this family. So you're the funny one or you're the pain in the butt like I was. Those little things. But it's like we're given this script. And then as children, we just absorb in that environment and it just becomes part of who we are. And like you said, the subconscious, the limiting beliefs, all that stuff. And then it literally, until we go, why am I not creating what I want? Why am I not creating what I want?
Yeah, I know. And that's the thing, like, and if there's any parents watching this video right now, please don't freak out.
Exactly.
Because this is what I know to be true. We all have programming. We all have patterns that we adopt and that we take throughout our life. Like I said, I'm one of 8 kids. We all have different personalities. We can all look at a situation that happened in our childhood where we were all present. Some of us remember it. Some of us don't. And some of us, for that incident, it was such a pivotal moment in our life, and we took it on so emotionally that it became part of our programming. All you can do is be the best, most loving parent that you can be, but and be supportive as you can, and try and create as much open communication with your children that you can. Absolutely. But don't think that that's going to stop them from taking on programs. Remember, my initial program about money came from kids that were teasing me at school. So some other kids could be teased like that and not make that assumption that I did.
Right.
Like someone could be teased for exactly the same reason, but see it and perceive it completely differently because of their personality. So
Natalie,
we'll have it.
I'm so glad you said that, because it's like none of us leave childhood without any hurts or bruises. None of us. It's just part of the human process. And then it's our work as adults to heal that from our childhood. And that's where our growth lies. So as, like you're saying, as parents, like sometimes I know in the beginning, it was like I had to be perfect, and it's like, it is what it is. I'm going to show up. And I find that as a parent, me doing my own inner work, showing up the best I can, living authentically from this place, changing and shifting my vibration when I'm in a crappy mood, apologizing if I do screw up, just being human and real with them. I'm raising happy, healthy kids, but I am very real, and I know that neither one of them are going to leave childhood with no hurts or, because it's the way they interpret things. Like you're saying, you could have the same people experiencing the same thing. One will interpret it one way, and one will be like, well, I don't remember that. It was so insignificant. So,
yeah. See, I don't believe that there is such a thing as a perfect person, and I do believe that personal development is a lifelong process.
Yeah.
We're always learning, we're always expanding, we're always stepping outside our comfort zone, and we're always trying to be a better version of ourselves. We are spiritual beings here having a human experience, and that human experience includes, learning more about ourselves and experiencing the contrast and helping and making a contribution. All of those things means that we're always consistently growing. So as soon as if we think we've got it all figured out and that we've got it all going on, life will throw you a little curveball just to remind you that, no, wait a minute, we're still growing and we're still expanding.
Absolutely. So is there a process to eliminate these type of programs?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's all about setting the intention and that you don't want to know, that you no longer want to think these thoughts. Now, to get to that point, you have to acknowledge that you have them. For me, if you're working towards a goal, especially if it's in a specific life area where you have often fallen short before and you've never really reached the level that you wanted to, chances are you do have some programming or some inner belief that is, sabotaging your success. So as you are doing your actions during the day and as you're moving forward towards this goal, just be conscious of the thoughts that come up for you and then write them down. Because when you write them down, you're actually naming them. You're calling them out. You go, you know what? I see you now. You may have been an unconscious thought that I wasn't aware of before, but I see you now.
You're conscious now.
Exactly. And I'm setting my intention. You no longer serve me. You're not getting me to where I want to be and helping me to be the best version of myself that I can be. And so I'm intentionally choosing other thoughts. And I will choose something, I will write those other thoughts out as an affirmation. So rather than saying something like, money's bad and, if you've got money, you mustn't be a very nice person. My affirmations around money are things like, I'm abundantly wealthy. Money flows easily to me. I create enough to be able to give to the charities that I want to and help other people. And I also think about how, wealthy people think. Now, wealthy people aren't sitting there going, oh, my God, how am I going to pay the rent next month? They're like, how do I create more wealth?
Right.
How do I create more money? How do I make a bigger difference in the world through the money that I'm creating? And so I write those things out as affirmations, and then I visualize. I see myself, well, okay, so if this is my new thought paradigm, if I'm thinking that money flows abundantly to me, how does that change my actions and decisions that I make in my life? And see how that plays out, and then, and especially if you're doing this on a daily basis, at least twice a day, what you're doing is you're reminding yourself, no, they're not my thought patterns anymore. These are my new thoughts. And the more consistently you do that, the easier that you step into that, the more you create these neural pathways and you become in alignment with that.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Natalie. You guys, You're my family. Let us know what you're taking away from this conversation. I'm sure Natalie will get involved in the conversation as well. I know, Natalie, you have an amazing webinar that you'd like to invite everybody to. If you want to share that really quick, we're going to put a link under the video. Do you want to share what's that about?
Yeah, so, before I was actually talking about, our different brain states that we've been able to measure through the brain mapping that we've been doing. We have teamed up. Actually, we've been working with a gentleman by the name of Maury Zelkovich. He's actually one of the only brainwave entrainment engineers in the world, a certified brainwave engineers in the world. And he's actually was commissioned by the Brazilian military to help to optimize, their brain activity, and to make them better. So he and I actually did this amazing webinar together, which I would love to share for free with anyone that's here, watching the show, where we actually go through and explain how brain activity works, what these different, brain states are, how you can get into these different brain states so that you can create these new realities for yourself. So it's a lot of practical, there's a lot of content, and there's a lot of, very layman's term science that explains exactly what we've been talking about today. So if you click on that link below, I would love to share that information with you for free.
Awesome. Well, thank you for giving that to my family. So let us know what you're taking away from this information. Let's continue the conversation. And as always, know that the universe is supporting you in everything that you're asking for, and you ask what to be supported in by the vibration that you send out. So thank you and have an amazing week.